Hi there, crafty friends. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. So you can see here, this is a card we're going to be making, and I am very excited because it is using the new Concord Ninth Spectacular Shades stamp and die set. I'm also using the Spellbinders Star Bright Stencil and two Distress Oxides in Squeezed Lemonade and Wilted Violet. Now I'm looking at the color wheel here because I have learned from Kathy Zilski that you can use the color wheel to really get a good idea of what colors look good together. In this case, yellow and purple are not intuitive in my mind, but they really do look good together because they are complementary colors, across from each other on the color wheel. So I've grabbed my Star Bright stencil and I'm putting it on a piece of Neenah Classic Crest 110-pound solar white cardstock. And I really like this cardstock because it's got a good thick weight to it. I'm going to take my Simon Says Stamp blender brushes, and I'm going to get some of that ink down through the stencil onto my cardstock. So with the Squeezed Lemonade, I'm going a little bit more than halfway, and then coming up from the bottom with the Wilted Violet, overlapping them just a little bit. I don't want to get it too dark and muddy, but just enough to get a nice blend over it. So now let's do a reveal. Who doesn't love a reveal, right? Here we go. So it's my yellow and my purple, and you see the middle part I'm trying not to get it too blended there, but I really like the brightness of the yellow. I like the richness of the purple. Just looks great. So here I am using my rectangle die so I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like, because I am going to crop that piece down. So here I'm getting a look at what my glasses are going to ultimately look like. I was kind of playing around trying to figure out what colors I wanted. So I think I'm going to go with the gold metallic for the frames, and then I'm going to use this black for the inside layers, the lenses, but also because it's a solid shape. So I'm going to cut out 5 of these, but in order to hold it in place, I need a buddy. This is Sticky, Sticky the Sloth. He is the holder and keeper of my mint tape. Excellent tape, low tack, perfect for holding dies in place so that they don't tear your cardstock. So for my black cardstock here, I'm using Park Lane in the 65-pound weight, and because it's on the thinner side, I'm going to have to cut out 5 of these. So I think I could fit 3 on that sheet, and then I cut out another 2. So here you can see I have all 5 of my die cuts ready to go, and they are going to stack up together very nicely. So before I go any further with the die cutting, I just wanted to pause and show you something about this die set. You see how there is no line on the inside of the lens there, but there is a line outlining the lens here? That's because this top one actually cuts out the lenses, whereas this one cuts out the whole shape, like I'm showing here. So I used this bottom die to cut out all 5 of my base layers, and then I used the top die to cut out my gold frames. So now I'm going to adhere all 5 layers together to stack them up for dimension, and then put my gold frames on the top. So now these are much sturdier, good heft to them. I don't think it's flimsy and going to fly out of my hand. So now I put some pressure on it just to give a little time to let the glue adhere, and I am using Gina K Connect glue. Now I'm going to take a look, since I have my glasses and I have the stamp there that I'm going to use for my sentiment. I am going to put this down and try to get a feel for where I want this to go. Now this can take me a little time, and sometimes I think, do I want it on the bottom? Do I want it on the top, on the side? It can be hard to say, but I wanted to leave enough room around so that I could put a little bling and a little sparkle later. So I will be cropping this down, as I mentioned, and that's kind of why I'm moving my rectangle around, but I think that's the spot I'm going to want. So here I'm grabbing my Tailored Expressions Anti-Static Powder Tool, and what I'm going to do is powder up the center part where I plan to put my sentiment. And that is just to help the embossing powder not stick to the surface where maybe some oil from my fingers might have gotten a little bit on the paper, so it makes it a little sticky. So I'm powdering it up really well here just to cover my bases. So I grabbed my favorite embossing ink from Versamark, and I am inking up my sentiment here, and I'm going to use my Misty to get it stamped in exactly the right spot. Now you'll notice I'm only going to put very light pressure on the sentiment. I do a couple taps and then I use my Stampendable pressure tool, but still not a lot of pressure, just a couple of light passes. And the reason is because the letters on that sentiment are really delicate, and I just don't want them to be pushed so far down that they get too chunky. I mean, I like a little chunk, but not in this case. So I bring in a piece of scratch paper here, and I'm going to use my Ranger Embossing Powder Superfine Detail in the gold color, and I'm going to basically spread some of that powder over that embossing ink. So you're going to see it looks like a little pile here, but then I'm going to tap it off, and you'll see that it's going to just stick to where I have the ink. So here we go. I'm going to tap it off a little bit, and you see those letters start to pop out. So now I get to bring in my heat tool. This is my Crafter's Companion heat tool, and I really like this one because of that handle and because it folds away. But I have carpal tunnel in both wrists, so for me, holding it like this is not great. But holding it by the handle, that is just much more comfortable. So now that I've finished embossing my sentiment, it is time to prep my card base. Now I'm bringing in my Score Buddy here because it's a really great tool for getting great score marks on your cardstock. Now I really like that it's got that ruler across the top, and especially that it's got that little asterisk right there at the 4 1/4 mark. That's a common or standard card making size, A2, 5.5 by 4 1/4. So I used my bone folder to score right at that 4 1/4 mark. So then I just press down, and now here we go. We have a beautiful card base in the Simon Says Stamp Royal Purple cardstock. So you may notice throughout the video that I keep bringing back elements and kind of testing them basically. And it's because I never know if the card is going to work out the way I see it in my head. And it often does not. And usually that's for the better. But still, I test things out just because I want to make sure that I like the path I'm on. In this case, I do. So now I'm going to grab my foam tape here and I want to get a little bit of dimension on this card front just to kind of pop it up a little, give it a little bit of interest, give it a little, oomph. So I brought in my Tim Holtz 9.5-inch titanium snip scissors. Now I really love these because they are non-stick, so it is perfect for cutting things like foam tape. When you have a lot of adhesion in your life, you definitely need some Tim Holtz non-stick titanium scissors. So now I am moving on to putting all the foam tape down, peeling off the backings, and then I'm going to put some glue down. I'm bringing back in my Gina K glue. And I like to put glue, even though there's foam tape. It might seem a little redundant, but for me, I need float time. That's what the glue gives me. It gives me float time. So the glue here gave me the opportunity to get my card front adhered to my panel nice and straight, which is always a concern for me. So now I'm going to take some foam squares and pop up my little sunshades here. Sunshades? Sunglasses? What do you call them? Sunglasses, I usually call them. I don't know why I said sunshades. Anyway, so we're going to pop this up here, and I'm going to put a little glue on those as well. And then I'm going to do something scary. I am no kind of adept at putting white details on different die cuts. I was terrified doing this because I was convinced I butchered this. I don't know. I still don't know. What do you think? Does it look like highlights, like details, or does it look like the Hot Mess Express? I'm not sure. So hot mess or not, I am plunging bravely forward. I am hoping to distract you with some bling. If it looks terrible, maybe you won't notice because I am blinding you with the beauty of Studio Katia confetti sequins. Now, I love the confetti sequins because it is flat on the back, which is terrific because it doesn't have that little hole in the middle of normal sequins where the glue shows through. I don't really enjoy that. So I do, however, love the flat sequins. Tell me, did it distract you? Did it distract you from my attempt at highlights? You know what? It works. This is the card. I hope you like it. I had fun making it, and I learned a few things along the way. So thank you so much for being here with me today, for crafting with me, for helping me figure out what to do with this card. And I would love to hear in your comments, is it a Hot Mess Express? Did we go for a ride today? Or is it something you would like to see in your mailbox? Hopefully the latter, but you know what? I am here for the constructive criticism. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.